Hi, everyone. Since we are in the midst of this criminal justice series that the Outreach Ministry is putting on, I wanted to talk about that. So you have heard me say the words from Jesus in Matthew 25 that I was in prison and you visited me. And I would encourage you to read that whole chapter. And you'll see that there's also a reverse side to what Jesus is saying, a very challenging side. But also, not only does Jesus say, I was in prison and you visited me, but in this parable, but he is also someone who finds himself in prison. So Jesus himself was arrested and was tried and was imprisoned and was sentenced to the harshest sentence of the time, that being crucifixion. Obviously leading to death. And so as we continue to think about the criminal justice system, I think it is a challenge, one, to not label those who find themselves as part of the system, those who find themselves in prison. It's a challenge not to just simply label them as criminals. But on top of that, I think there's a challenge beyond that to identify those who are in prison with Jesus himself. And there's no scale with that. It doesn't matter if somebody is in prison for, let's say, they stole to try to help their family because they were in a bad place. That versus somebody who was a gang member and did really horrible things. I think the challenge for us as Christians is not to simply label people and to put them in a box and say, well, some are deserving of redemption. Some are deserving to have a chance to heal and be restored to community. But some of them aren't. Some of them should just remain with the label criminal. And so I want to challenge you as we continue through this series and whatever comes after this series, as we think about those who are in prison, to identify them with Jesus himself, who was indeed in prison. And so, we know that Jesus is someone who was constantly seeking to restore people to community. And I think that is part of our challenge in doing justice. How do we restore people to community? But I think before we even get there, we have to identify them with Jesus. And so I hope that if you have not attended one of the events that we've had the last 2 weeks, that you will join us next week as we welcome Senator Tom Davis. And regardless if you've been a part of this series or not, I hope that you will look for opportunities to be in conversation with us about what's next. We will be in conversation, in communication with you about what's next. As we seek to figure out what does it mean for us to do justice right now, especially in our local criminal justice system. So I charge you and challenge you to see Jesus in the faces of others, in the faces of your enemies, in the faces of those we claim as criminal, but those who are also made in the very image of God that you and I are made in. So I leave that with you and send you Christ's peace. Bye.